Times SpongeBob absolutely lost his cool. SpongeBob SquarePants is by far one of the most popular and critically acclaimed children's shows of all time. Though over the years, our favorite yellow sponge has lost his cool on many occasions. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button and ring the notification bell so we know who the real SpongeBob fans are. The Rise of SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob was first previewed at the Kids' Choice Award back in 1999. The preview was so well received that it was given the green light, officially premiering on July 17th, 1999. It was an instant classic with fans and critics alike. Before long, a full-length motion picture had been commissioned by Nickelodeon, performing incredibly well at the box office. Over a decade later, another movie was ordered in 2015. According to Nickelodeon, the series had gained at least $13 billion for the production company, making it one of the most successful cartoons of all time, and by a long shot. In a tragic turn of events, the show's creator, Steven Hillenburg, passed away in 2018 after suffering from ALS. The series was able to continue without him, but it's unlikely it will ever be the same without his input and creative direction. This was echoed by the fact that Steven was always adamantly opposed to creating a spin-off series involving SpongeBob characters. Though just a few months after he passed away, Nickelodeon announced they were going to greenlight 3 spin-off series, directly against Steven's wishes, though that's a story for another time. SpongeBob SquarePants was created by Steven Hillenburg in the early 90s. He had always been fascinated with the ocean and marine life, and these passions helped fuel many characters that would develop for the series. Steven worked at the Ocean Institute in California for many years, tossing around the idea of returning to college to earn a master's degree in art. Though when Steven attended an animation festival, his plans for the future abruptly changed. He had previously been developing SpongeBob characters for a comic series that he hoped to get picked up, but none of the publishing companies were interested in the story. That's when Steven decided to switch gears and focus more on animation and graphic novels. Steven soon attended a festival with a short cartoon he made and screened it at the California Institute of Arts. Joe Murray, the creator of Rocko's Modern Life, happened to be at the event and was impressed with Steven's work. Joe offered Steven a place on the team at Nickelodeon, with Steven helping to create and direct many of the episodes in the 4th season of Rocko's Modern Life. Steven soon started working alongside Tom Kenny, who would eventually voice SpongeBob in the animated series. When Steven was developing the character, he originally planned to name him SpongeBob, with the show being called SpongeBob Ahoy, though due to legal issues the name needed to be changed. Steven settled on SpongeBob, with Tom Kenny later remarking, "Boy, look at that sponge in his square pants," thinking he can get a job at a fast food place. This remark is what led Steven to create SpongeBob's last name, SquarePants. A 7-minute series plot was soon created, and the rest, as you know, is history. Stuck in the Ringer. Even though SpongeBob and other citizens of Bikini Bottom live underwater, they all take place in some strange undersea rituals that seem to mimic their dry land counterparts. For example, we've seen several characters water flowers, play with a garden hose, drink from a glass, and countless other strange acts that would be impossible underwater. One excellent example of this is when SpongeBob takes a shower in the episode Stuck in the Ringer. He has taken an undersea shower many times in the past, though this episode showed us a different side of SpongeBob's daily routine, his ringer. At the end of every shower, SpongeBob has to wring himself out using a device simply known as a ringer. This roller assembly squeezes out the sponge and removes any moisture or contaminants from his flesh. It sounds like a pretty brutal process when you think about it. Though in this episode, SpongeBob manages to get himself stuck in the ringer. He is extremely embarrassed but asks Patrick for help. Patrick always seems to have his friend's best interest in mind, though this doesn't change the fact that he constantly makes things worse for his pals on most occasions. And this situation was no different. In trying to get SpongeBob free of the ringer, Patrick manages to glue SpongeBob to the rollers, securing his fate and trapping him in the ringer forever. The two friends had planned a day at a local carnival, and even though SpongeBob is far too embarrassed to enjoy himself, they decide to go anyway. However, he soon realizes he is unable to take part in any of the activities they had planned. He is unable to eat ice cream, play on any of the rides, or even go to work. SpongeBob then takes his anger out on Patrick and completely loses his cool. We certainly understand why he was so upset. After all, Patrick made things considerably worse. However, his outburst scared away Patrick and his other friends, leaving SpongeBob angry and alone. A pal for Gary. SpongeBob and Gary have been together forever. We are never told just how old Gary is, but he has been with SpongeBob for more than 20 seasons now and shows no sign of slowing down. Gary is one of SpongeBob's most trusted and dependable friends. He is always at home waiting for him when he gets off work and is always willing to listen to SpongeBob rant about virtually anything. The two have demonstrated their incredible love for one another several times in the past. By all means, Gary seems to be SpongeBob's other half. Though we can all lose our temper sometimes and unintentionally unintentionally take our anger out on other people. This is true for SpongeBob as well, and his anger has been taken out on Gary several times over the years. In the episode, A Pal for Gary, SpongeBob seems to realize how lonely it must be for Gary to stay home all day while he's at work. He works for several hours every day of the week while Gary sits at home alone, often not having the television turned on to keep him company. It can be a very lonely world for most house pets, and this is true in the real world as well. We should all do everything we can to keep our pets happy and entertained while we are away, and SpongeBob certainly seems to have been aware of that. This is what led him to begin the search for a friend for Gary, someone to keep him company while he was busy at work. SpongeBob brings home a new friend for Gary to play with, believing this will be the solution to all their problems. However, the new friend only seems to have made things worse. The pet begins to terrorize Gary at night, with Gary trying to warn SpongeBob of the danger several times. Though SpongeBob doesn't believe him, he seems to believe that Gary is being selfish, needy, and an attention hog. However, Gary is doing everything he could to let SpongeBob know that he felt as though he was in danger. Gary was continually tortured throughout the night, with SpongeBob denying that anything happened. He began to lose his temper towards Gary several times before finally realizing that Gary was telling the truth all along. My Pretty Seahorse. This is an older episode, though I'm sure we all remember it well. When we are children, we can likely relate to the idea of finding a new pet outdoors and begging your parents to let you keep it. More often than not, the answer will be no. Our parents usually have the best interests in mind, because outdoor animals can become quite dangerous if removed from their natural habitat and taken indoors. This is true for squirrels, snakes, wild cats, and countless other animals that have adapted to life in the wild. SpongeBob was forced to face this issue head-on in the episode My Pretty Seahorse. Our Sponge finds a seahorse all alone in the wild and decides to take it home as a new pet. Though things didn't go as planned and the seahorse began wreaking havoc on the other residents of Bikini Bottom, SpongeBob did his best to tame the horse, whom he named Mystery, though his best simply wasn't good enough. Mr. Krabs has always been a father figure to SpongeBob, so when Mr. Krabs told SpongeBob the horse needed to be set free, SpongeBob knew what had to be done, though not before trying to hide the horse from Mr. Krabs and nearly destroying the whole restaurant in the process. The poor little Sponge was beside himself when Mr. Krabs forced him to set it free, with him begging and pleading Mr. Krabs to allow him to keep the animal, though fate had different things in mind. SpongeBob finally agrees to take the horse outside. He lets go the leash and turns away so he doesn't have to see his newfound friend walking away. He begins to yell at the horse, pleading for it to leave. His sadness quickly turns to anger as he shouted at the horse to run away, saying, "Can't you see I don't want you anymore?" Though as he turns around to face the horse, he notices that it ran away as soon as he let go of the leash. SpongeBob lost his cool with the horse, though this doesn't seem to be the reason why it ran away. Wild animals are exactly that, wild. They should never be brought indoors or taken into captivity without proper training, and SpongeBob learned that the hard way. We can all relate to the idea of losing our cool from time to time. Whether we are upset with our family, friends, or loved ones, we have all experienced an angry outburst at some point in our lives. Unless you're Mr. Fred Rogers, but that's a story for another time. It's pretty easy to empathize with SpongeBob during these rare moments, but we should all do our best to remain as level-headed as possible, even when the world seems to be turning against us.